Good evening. Is this broadcasting okay? Is this broadcasting or not broadcasting? No, that's a no. Oh, your thumbs are up? You're dark back there. A little bit louder? A little bit louder, is that better? Oh, I have to eat the microphone. Good evening. Welcome to the Corolla Board's Town Hall meeting. It's the first one this year, and I don't know if there's been another one by prior boards in prior years. I know that there was one in this room with discussions about Mattamy Village, which was sponsored by them back in March. But we welcome you here with pretty much an open agenda, open mic. That's not for singing. It's for engagement with the community. We really wanted to do this as a mid-year review and as a listening session with some back and forth dialogue. Let's start, if I may, with the board introducing themselves. My name is David Anderson, resident of Celebration for about 3 years, owner for a little more than that.
There we go. Oh, look at that. It's not that bad. It's not bad.
Better than mine.
Hey guys, my name is Kevin. I am a resident since 2013. I sit as a secretary, and this would be my first term. So thank you all those who participated in the community and got involved in the board, especially this year. This town hall right now, I am ecstatic to see this many people here. I'm not aware of a huge hot topic, so maybe that's why, but I'm excited to hear and listen tonight. So thank you.
Hi everyone, my name is Jackson Mummy. I am an original Celebration resident. There is a brick with my name on it. Actually, it's my family's name. I live in Artisan Park now, and I'm excited to be here. This is my first term on CROA, and like Kevin and everyone else up here, excited to see a turnout to come and just talk about what's going on in Celebration and what we want to go on in Celebration. So I'm looking forward to listening to you tonight.
Vaughn Roberts, been here since 2014. I don't have a brick.
No?
Yes, no. I'm brickless.
Debbie McDonald, also a founding resident, and been here since 1997, and just wanted to thank all the volunteers and everyone that steps up in this community, because you really you make it what it is. So thank you for being here.
Brian Kinsel, I've lived here since 2008 with my wife Sandy, and proud to be here, and first term as board member. I'm the treasurer, and what I would encourage you tonight is we get many one-off comments and different thoughts, but an open dialogue tonight where other people can hear your thoughts and we can respond to them is a great way to communicate, and this is being taped, so it'd be a great way for you to have others hear your opinions and for us too. Thank you.
Thank you, Brian. Hi, Steve Wang. I'm your executive director for the association. I did live in Celebration for 4 years, so I'm quite familiar with living in Celebration. I do not have a brick, but ironically, my dog Cooper does have a tile at the dog park, so he's more important in Celebration than I am. So.
Just a couple of comments in terms of format, and then a few remarks, and then it's turning over to you. We're going to start with some brief opening remarks. Okay, better? Okay, I'm going to start with some brief opening remarks, and then we picked two quick topics just to give you a quick update. And some of the updates are as recent as an hour ago, maybe 2 hours. Okay, so one, we're going to talk about the athletic and recreation fields, where we had the grand opening last week. Not the grand opening, the groundbreaking, fast forwarding 6 months. And then talk about something called the interlocal agreement. So that'll get us started, and then it's going to be turned over to you. It's an open mic. We ask that you limit your comments to a question or a brief comment. If we need to, we have the 3-minute sign, but we hope we don't have to use that. We really just want brief questions and comments. The whole point of this is to get a variety of issues, as you've already heard from a couple of board members, to get some of the things that are on your mind, the issues on your mind. We don't want to belabor 45 minutes on one topic. And we also don't want to be, I'll speak for myself, I don't want to be here till midnight. Maybe some of you do. If you come to the mic, please give your name. You'll be looking at us, but if you want to look at the microphone and the streaming and then the later audience, you're welcome to do so. But overall, it's a listening session. We will provide some comments. Sometimes Steve will turn to Steve and will say, Steve, can you comment on that, please? And we are streaming, so we are live. So real quick overview, just some general principles that are important to me as a member of the board, and then this year I'm honored to serve as the board's and the community's president of CROA. But 5 quick comments. One is one thing that I feel that we believe in as a board, and knowing these board members, many of whom I did not know before they were board members, is a commitment to the community. This board is really committed, really dedicated to the community, and if you want some evidence of that real quickly, is we have 3 public meetings a month. We have 2 workshops and 1 board meeting every month, and our agendas are full. We have other meetings, we have other liaisons with other groups in town, but the board is busy. So it's all about a commitment to the community. Second is a theme that was in our June celebration news, and that's a theme called engaged planning. We want to be engaged with you. We want to be engaged with our volunteers and the committees. We want to be engaged in thoughtful planning, not just spontaneous response and deal with the crisis. We want to plan forward. We know that if you will, the Recreation Athletic Complex has been planned for many, many, many years, and it's delightful to see this actually happening. Third is communication. You've seen monthly articles from us. You've seen some periodic other notices from us. You'll see this session, and if this is successful and we want to do it again, we'll do it again. Fourth is openness. We believe in honesty. We're streaming all of our meetings, again, some changes from the past. And so that whole openness, and we're just sharing what our perspective is, again, with that commitment to the community. And last is collaboration. We really believe in working together among ourselves. We can respectfully disagree and still be talking. And we're collaborating with other groups in town, whether it's the foundation, the CCDD, Lexan, the Celebration Company, nonprofit groups, other groups. So we believe in collaborating and talking. We're working with the county on several initiatives, so that's very exciting. One last perspective is what I've found, and I think other board members have found, is all too often we get, CROA gets blamed. CROA gets blamed for whatever goes wrong. So there will be things that will come forward tonight, I'm sure, that are not our responsibility. We will point you the right way. We'll try to give our explanation, but we'll point you in the right way. There are things that are our responsibility, and we'll acknowledge those. And it's all about that positive spirit, that positive belief in what we believe Celebration is and is becoming, and as it moves forward towards the future. So with that, does any board member have a comment before we open it up to the floor? So we're opening up to... Oh, I'm sorry. Yes, so we already talked about there. Thank you. There are 2 updates. One is Recreation Athletic Complex, and the other is interlocal. So, Steve?
Very quick update. In 2015, the CROA board commissioned a task force to look at some of the data, the survey data, and stakeholder meetings that were done in the community to identify how we're going to spend the capital dollars that are coming in for park enhancements, amenity enhancements, and just building new parks in the community. And the data overwhelmingly showed a dog park, first and foremost, was needed in this community. That was the residents speaking and the stakeholders speaking. So a dog park is now out on the Civic Corridor. If you haven't been, I encourage you to go look at this beautiful dog park. You guys have the Taj Mahal of dog parks here in Celebration. So the second project that showed up consistently on the data was athletic fields, multi-purpose sports fields. So the project that just broke ground last Wednesday with the groundbreaking ceremony, is a 3-field athletic field complex. The road will extend behind the Civic Corridor from the CDD building, and it will continue all the way back You'll have a few acres of property on the right that are being cleared. That's the old golf course property. The Corps Board purchased that last year, so that is one of the assets of the community to later to be determined what goes on that asset. And we'll probably hear a lot about new amenities in town. I know some people that I've talked to out in the lobby were asking about new amenities and things that they'd like to see here. So that's an asset for possible future growth for new amenities. But as you get down a little bit further, there'll be a parking lot for the athletic field complex, then a concession building with a restroom, some storage area, and 2 meeting rooms. It's actually one big meeting room that can be divided into 2 meeting rooms. Then you'll have 3 athletic fields. There will be 2 natural turf fields and 1 synthetic turf field, which is really exciting because you can play on that thing all year round. You can play on it immediately after it rains, so it opens up just so much capacity for our groups to be able to utilize these fields. And then the other asset that's going on there that will also increase capacity is Musco LED lighting on those fields. So no 20 minutes for metal halide bulbs to warm up, and then if they shut off another 20 minutes to hit one, it's just a matter of turning them on and turning them off. And if the fields aren't used, it quickly turned off. So we'll be able to utilize those fields until 10 o'clock at night, which is great, another great amenity. This project's going to take about 6 months. So the project started the week of Labor Day. We're looking at around March of 2019 for this to be completed, and hopefully play beginning at that facility in April of 2019. So that's the update for the athletic fields. We also have an update that we want to give real quickly about interlocal agreement. Do you want me to just keep rolling, or do you want to do this? Okay.
Yeah, what we did was last year, I think it's 2017, when the county first came forward. Is that right, Steve?
It was.
Yeah, 2017, the county came forward because we had an interest, and we still do, in building a community center. And there is land available at the civic corridor. So what the county said was, look, we'd be willing to pitch in $2+ million to help build that, but we would like to have some public use and access to that facility. And some of that included maybe having their own office there, maybe putting a cooperative extension service in our building, and we don't know what else it would have been. So that came before, I believe, the board last year, and that's been kind of on the burner, and it flowed into the new board that exists now. So we looked at that, and back in May, we made a proposition. I think it was May or June. We made a proposition to the county. We went down and met with the county manager's office and some others down there. But we made a proposition that, let me back up. The money, in order for us to receive the money, the county had to have some public use and access to that building, which we weren't really happy with. But if they're going to give you $2+ million, it was something we had to think about. So what happened was the board talked back in May of this year and June, and we decided that what if we went to the county and said, how about giving us the $2+ million and apply that to the fields? Because we felt there was a public use and access to the fields because we have other teams coming in from outside of Celebration that play. They have tournaments, etc. So what we did was go down and make that pitch to the county. The county said that's fine with them. They had no problem with it. So what we actually did then was change the public use and access from our community center to the fields because it already existed anyway. So we don't lose space in our own building. So now we're still working on the interlocal agreement with the county for the $2+ million. We're not sure exactly what the number is going to be yet, but actually applying that possibly to a new community center. So we don't have to worry about giving up office space for a 25-year period. What did I say? Yeah. So that's where we're at. So it looks like they bought into the plan, and then the problem came up where the money, the county came back and shut that idea down. kind of late in the game, they said, no, I told you we can't give you the money unless we own the land. So they said, well, what if you conveyed the land to us out there at the Civic Corridor? And the town and the board, I'm sure, would say no. In fact, the board did, that we don't want to give our land away that we own. So we said no, and we'll just end up financing ourselves. And then the county came back because they still wanted to have some way to give Celebration this money and still have some public purpose and access based on the funds that they were giving us. And they said, well, let's look at changing the law, because what prevented them from giving us that money without owning the land was a local law ordinance in Osceola County. So they have taken upon themselves to change the law to allow CROA to receive the money directly and to apply that to whatever. Actually, it would be a reimbursement to the fields. The money that we're giving the fields, let's say it's $4.5 million, that money that the county would give us, the $2 million plus, hopefully, that would reimburse us for the money that we've invested in the fields. So we get that money back, and we can put that towards wherever we decide we're going to put it towards. And Steve, you can give the updates on that if you like.
Sure. Just a quick recap then. So what Vaughn is saying is that through the persistence of the CROA board, by going back to the county and saying, we just can't give you land as easily. And the reason why they do this is they work with a lot of development districts, and it's easier for development districts to hand over the land because they don't have the same rules as the HOA does, where we have to go out to vote for the community to do that. So they said, we can change the ordinance. If you don't like the rule, let's change the rule. So that's a pretty big accomplishment by this CROA board to get them to do that, because they're changing the rule for the entire county because Celebration has a need here for reimbursement for these fields. The reality is that you already have athletic fields through a agreement with the county school, and it has a public purpose. It's not just Celebration residents that utilize these fields. So it was a really smart option that the board came up with, and again, the persistence to get them to do that. So tonight, the county board is voting on their statement of legislative intent, and then October 1st they'll post the ordinance, and then they'll have their final vote in November. So that's a great accomplishment for these guys. So if you want to give them a round of applause, you're more than welcome to do that.
So that's the updates. Thank you, both of you, Vaughn and Steve. Now it's your turn. You have to come up here. We're not coming to the audience. Yeah, come on up, or come on down, or just tell us who you are. Keep your comments focused, brief.
Sure will.
Please, and welcome.
Thank you. My name's Joe Growney, 860 Spring Park Loop. Been a resident since 2001, 17 years. And I came here because of the neat, clean appearance of the community. So instead of getting into a broad subject, I just talk sidewalks. Back in the day, I'd ride my bike and walk, and all the sidewalks are beautiful. In recent years, you go through a black sidewalk, the next lot's a clean sidewalk, the next lot is who knows what, and it really actually diminishes the looks. I think all black sidewalks would look better than a clean one. It just draws attention to how bad we look. Now, I was really heartened recently that they were looking at having some kind of a machine that would do all the sidewalks throughout the community. So as you took a walk, even though they might be cleaned 6 months ago, they'd all look the same. And I think, well, as a homeowner, whatever more dues I have to pay would be offset by my cost of cleaning the property. So the net incremental cost might be negative because it takes a lot of money to clean my sidewalk. Now, my question is, what's the status of this automatic sidewalk machine, and why in the world don't we do it? That's my question. Thank you.
Yeah, it's working. This was Vaughn and Jack McLaughlin, who couldn't be here tonight, originally had a meeting with CCDD to review this as a proposal, and it kind of got tabled when CCDD was looking at some budget type items. I've had the item brought up to me by a couple of different residents in the town who really think that it would enhance market value in the community, because it would look nicer. Whether they pay for it as a Croat do or whether they pay for it as a tax, they're paying for it anyway. And I've had the argument also made that Joe brought up, which is that if you're paying to power clean your own sidewalks, you're paying for it one way or another anyway. We have a working capital fund that has been built up over time. The athletic fields, we're going to take it down to a pretty low level, but the reimbursement that was just talked about would put us in pretty good shape. One of the other questions I kind of expected tonight is we've talked about we're spending $4.5 million on athletic fields. What about other things? To me, this project right here with the sidewalks, I brought it up when we had a budget meeting on Monday, September 10th, that I think we should do it. I know CCDD, and we've got Cliff Akey and others in the room here who are part of that board, have an employee who could run the machine, who could do this full-time using the machine if we end up buying it. So to me, it's something that we should look at quite seriously as we go into 2019, and I consider it one of those constructive criticisms or opportunities brought forward from the audience that we should, a little outside the box, but it makes an awful lot of business sense, which is what we should be considering.
Please, welcome.
Hi, Jason Rowland, 1408 Stickley. I just first wanted to thank the board. I do notice the much more open and transparency with the recently seated board, and I just want to thank you for that. I wanted to express on behalf of Artisan Park residents, we have a need for a playground in our community. Other areas of Celebration have playgrounds, Heritage Hall and other villages have them, but Artisan Park is way in the back, and we have to make quite a long trip to get to any sort of a facility where kids can really enjoy. So I wanted to just request that this be brought up to the board, and it was on a master plan a few years back, and I'd like to see that we continue getting that. Thank you.
Okay, as part of our planning process, what we wanted to make a very high priority for early 2019, late 2018, was to redo the master plan. The master plan was originally done with 2010 data published in 2014-15. There are certain items being done like the athletic fields, the dog park, other things that were on that plan. There are other things outstanding. There are also new items that everybody on this board hears about twice a day from many different people. What we would like to do is hire a professional facilitator, have a process much like the last one, come up with a new plan that I would hope that we could be issuing around March, because we talked about with the new board and new elections coming in to set priorities, so that basically and the Artisan Park is an example of something that's on that, that we could roll forward from the old plan with a new plan and committing the working capital dollars that we're talking about, which if we get the county reimbursement, we'd be sitting here with a couple $1 million to start attacking a number of smaller projects, because you have the large project, like if we talk about a community center, yeah, I think the athletic field started at $1.9 million and are now costing $4.5 million. So if you do a community center, it won't be cheap and it'll be the wrong number when it's originally started. But you've also got a ton of smaller projects you can do, as we've alluded to, and maybe you start some of those.
You know the drill.
Armand Moda, 930 Paulstown Road. I'm wondering, why are we considering repaving all of downtown just because a couple people don't like the lines? And when they urbanize it and take away left-hand turn lanes, when that can give you likely 3 times the amount of being rear-ended, okay, and they want to put some bike lanes in. You get people running in those bike lanes, walking in those bike lanes. You get a family like me with a child, riding bikes. That child wants to get out of their way, accidentally goes over the line before the adult can do anything about it, gets hit by a car, and that becomes a big problem. Okay, that also, I want to know why, if I've got neighbors getting letters in the mail because of a couple of bald spots in their grass, okay, where you can see a little bit of dirt. Meanwhile, if you go up like Waterside Road, okay, Waterside Drive, we're supposed to have a 2-foot mulching area around a lot of the trees, but we got the mulching going all the way from the sidewalk to the curb. Okay, like Joe was talking about, beautifying Celebration here. And then also, if you go over to the park across from Stetson, if you look at the park there, we got a lot of dead grass. We got mulch all over the place. It's just not looking the way it used to look like it did before. Okay? Thank you.
It's working. There we go. Maybe? All right. Amanda, thank you. I've seen your face at CCDD meetings a lot lately, and I've been sitting in the audience as well, and my frustrations are probably very similar to yours, and I'm only speaking for myself. The biggest thing that I like about this happening right here is this community has so many players in it, and it's always finger pointing, and it's always, oh, it's this person, it's that person, it's the other person. And so what we did this evening is we invited the CCDD to be here as well, so they could listen and hear the same thing. And it's not to make any of us sound like a broken record, it's to let everybody see that we all see the same issue that's going on. Out of what you did mention, one item specifically comes to mind, and that's the Veterans Field, the Founders Park, that you're pointing at across from Stetson. I actually walked that yesterday, and that grass looks rough. That's one example. And one thing that this board has recently rolled out is a report card with Yellowstone, one of our vendors that's over the landscaping. And so Todd works with Yellowstone, and he goes through and he's starting to check different areas and essentially grade them off. So that way we can see on an annual basis, are you lacking, or was this a one-off, or what's going on? And that's going to help all of us see a better full picture, as opposed to maybe something just happens in between. I don't know, Steve, if you want to comment on that
I'd
part.
also like, can you hear me? Am I on? Okay, so I'd like to add, the charter has requirements for services that need to be provided in this community. One of those services that are clearly spelled out in the charter is a community-wide standard. And our job as a management company is to have someone go out and look at the properties to make sure that our community-wide standard is kept up the way it's supposed to be. And it's something that I believe a majority of the residents in this community appreciate and are glad that it's here, because it keeps the value of your homes where they need to be. So with that said, there are times where contractors that we hire and that the Crow Board hires are falling behind, and they're held accountable too. So the equivalent to them of the letter that you get in at your home, which that letter states, the first letter states, we realize that you work hard, we realize that you care about your house, we just want to know your plan. We just want to know what you're going to do to get it fixed up. We send that to you as the first notice, and we ask you to give us a plan. If you communicate back to us with the plan, the letters stop. I mean, we just follow up to make sure that the work is being done. When we see our landscape contractor not getting the work done to the level of service that we expect from the scope, we hold them accountable. We will hire another company to do it if we can. We'll withhold payment. So it's really kind of comparing apples to oranges when we look at it that way, but it's not because we're just allowing them to not keep the community standards. The scorecard is almost equivalent to a letter. It's saying you're not where you need to be. We have an expectation level that you get it to where the scope of the contract states, and we will follow up and consistently hold them accountable to get the work done. We've had bad contractors in here. We've had bad landscapers. The Crow Board let them go and hired new contractors. So the conversation of meeting the scope of the contract, it's there, and it's repeated over and over again.
The repaving is, I hate to push it off, but I mean, it's not something that Crow can control. Is this working? Hello? Hello? What are rotten vegetables haven't started flying up here yet? I'm sorry?
Do you approve it in any way whatsoever?
No.
So we have no say in what...
CROA does not, as a board. The only people that control that are the county and possibly CCDD. So that's where you would have to take that to. We don't control the repaving, the striping. We have no control over that at all.
At the risk of sounding too theoretical, I think CROA has two kinds of power. We have hard power, which is what comes to us through the charter, through the documents, the things that we are permitted to do. And we can only go so far with that, obviously. But then we have something called soft power. And soft power is the ability to put David Oros in the room, at the back of the room, and let him listen to this, and let Cliff Akey listen to this, and let Don McDonald listen to this, and say, you hear what people are saying, guys? Maybe you ought to do something. And they don't like that necessarily. Maybe they love it. I don't know. David doesn't look like he loves it. But the point is that we have the opportunity to raise these issues, and Armando, when you get up here and raise the issue, you're raising it to the entire community. And while we don't have the ability to solve your problem, we do have the ability to microphone it and to put it out there and to let people know. And by the way, Cliff's sitting one row in front of you. So you have the opportunity to address these things and work on them. But I think the thing that you want to consider is that this CROA board is being very aggressive in reaching out into areas that historically have not been CROA and saying, how far can we go? What can we do? What does the community want? And then trying to figure out the limits of that. So I hope that you all appreciate that, not in a way of saying, oh, thank you, but that you just understand that that's part of what we're trying to do here.
I think the residents, you want to come up? I think the residents are. Okay, yeah, just give me a minute here. Just give me. I think the CROA, we regularly go to the CCDD meetings and we voice our opinions, but as residents, what you really need to do is go to the CCDD meeting and voice your opinion. We can't represent every resident's opinion here because you have differing. Some people may want the bike lanes, some may want the striping one way or another. We don't have that ability here to know exactly what the majority wants. I think you need to go and voice your opinions there and let them make a decision.
One of the things we think we can do, though, because we have discussed this and we've been trading emails even in the last week, is Steve put together some great maps. One of the hardest things when you take this job is you find out there's something called CJC, and then there's Kanoa, and then there's CROA, and then there's Kanoa, and Disney did a very careful job of setting it up so no one was in control of everything, and everybody butts heads. I suspect that was not an accident because at the end of the day, God that sits up on top has 3 Disney directors in there that have voting blocks. But what we want to do, and what we've talked about, is we want to actually, in the Friday Flash, in the Celebration News, and on the new website that's going to go out, put out something that can sit there more or less permanently so that you can see a map of the various streets and who controls that area. So it's frustrating to you, and it's useless to you to hear, I don't know who solves this problem. If we can build a map system, a grid system, and on there, like on the website, say, okay, now you can see, here's the CCDD directors, here's the CROA board, here is who's on CJC or Kanoa, at least then you know who to go to, because with Jerry, Officer Jerry, when he's going to eliminate that, public going to CCDD did matter, and if you pick the next issue, public going to CDD or CROA or Kanoa or any of those, and they're all public meetings, does make a difference, and at least we'd like to educate people better on that.
Okay, I'm going to give you an insider tip here. If you go to just Google Osceola County Property Appraiser site and go to their map tab. The tabs are all up on the top. Go to their map tab. It's a GIS layered map. You zoom in on Celebration, and there's a button called Identify. You click on that, and you can double-click on any piece of property in Celebration. You can find out who owns it. It'll either say CROA, Kanoa, CDD. If it comes up blank that nobody owns it, that means the county owns it. So if it's a street and it comes up as no owner, that means the county owns it. It's a great tool to utilize. I know the CDD has a map on their site right now that has shaded colors of who owns what. So there's some resources out there that if you want to look right away who owns what piece of land, it's all on the Osceola County Property Appraiser site. Doesn't mean we're not going to do what Brian said, but if you want to know now, this is what's available for you.
I did go to that site, Al Groves, 506 Sycamore Street, and I would like to know, does do you all own the last 90 feet of Sycamore and Mulberry Street approaching Celebration Avenue?
There are a few intersections that CROA does own on some of the streets here. I'll be perfectly honest, I don't have them all memorized. I'd have to go and look at the listing, but there are a few.
There were two hands right. Oh, someone in the back. Is that Dave? Your name was. Your name was brought up.
That's right. Dave Orris, and I'm not here as the CDD. I'm here as a resident, okay? I am not in favor of spending $600,000 to redo Celebration Avenue. It's a waste of money. It was just done a year ago. It's taxpayers' money. It could be used elsewhere. Waterside Drive. A lot of streets in town here need repaving. That's where it's needed, not restriping because somebody with urbanism doesn't like the way it's striped. It's ridiculous. You're shutting the lanes down to 9 feet. You know how big a truck is? 10 feet. How about the mirrors that stick out? You're riding a bicycle. You get whacked in the back of the head from a truck going by. Is that what you want down there? Really? I don't think so. But urbanism seems like the big thing. Yeah, it's urbanism down here in Central Village, but the rest of the town isn't urbanism. We have to drive to get downtown. No, I'm not in favor of it. I voted against it. Okay? So before you say anything, get your things straight. Come to the meetings. You'll hear me quite well. And I'm not in favor of it. And anybody else doesn't want to pay that and waste that $600,000, call the county commissioners, call the county manager, assistant manager, and put your complaints in. They're the only ones that can actually kill this thing before it gets spent. And tell them to use it on the streets that are needed. Because there's a lot here that has to be done in this town, especially the streets that are falling apart.
So thank you. That's a good example of where we refer it to the county.
Could you identify yourself? I'm Dave Orris. Dave Orris. O-R-O-S-Z.
Okay. Can I just add also? You can see Dave speaks very passionately about what he believes, and yeah, and Dave is the chair of the CCDD, and I think he said something that we all need to listen to. Go to the meetings. You have to be involved. You have to be engaged in your community. You have to pay attention to what's going on, because if you don't go, your voice isn't going to be heard. And a lot of times, it's after the fact, after a decision's already made, that people are showing up and coming here to us saying, we're not happy with this decision. So go to these meetings, attend them, and that's how it's a community. It's really a small community in the scale of things, and you have a really great opportunity of having your voices heard here in Celebration through your local HOA and through your local development district.
I'd like to add one comment. There are lots of elections that go on, and many people don't go and vote, and then they complain about what happens. Your vote really matters, whether you're voting for CROA, whether you're voting for CCDD, or anything else. Please remember that, too.
Most of you in this room probably vote, which is amazing. Go tell a friend to vote. Go tell a neighbor to vote. As many people as you can, tell them to vote. We got to get a higher turnout for the elections.
Let's go to another question. And then I know there was a hand over here. Okay, next. Thank you.
I'm Bruce Carlson. Most of you know me. I'm at 1243 Aquila Loop. These are two questions. They're open-ended. They don't have your responsibility attached to them, but you know what's going on. One of you is probably a liaison to Kanoa on the board. At least we used to have a Kanoa liaison. So the two questions are, what's really happening with Island Village? We had a lot of information from Mattamy Homes and then kind of went silent. So we kind of want to know what's going on there. And the second question is, what's going on with Lexington and downtown? Because that's a very important part of our community. And I know with your involvement, you're starting to get involved in what's going on with Lexington and downtown, because it's a very important part of our community.
Thank you. Someone want to start? Okay, so a couple, as Bennett makes his way up to the microphone. No, don't go that slowly. One of the things that we did as a board is established a little ad hoc group to talk with the folks at Island Village. They had a briefing in this room. The room was packed in March. We set up a little ad hoc group so we could give them some guidance if they wanted to hear it. We pulled in a couple people from the CDD, pulled in another specialist, Steve, a couple of us. And so we've been talking, and when we wrote an article that was in the Celebration News in August, and as of a week ago, that was the latest information. So Bennett can introduce himself and say a little bit more and share what's more recent than you know from a week ago, and we knew from a week ago.
Yes, is this on? Can you hear me? Thank you very much for inviting me today, and I'm very happy to continue to have the conversation with this ad hoc group that CROA has formed. It includes not only members from the CROA board here, I believe David and Brian over here, but a few other members as well from the CCDD. Steve Waring is also on that committee or that group, as well as where's Gary? Gary, I'm going to call you out because I saw you. Gary, there he is. But Gary Moyer, who is the manager for with the CCDD. As of actually last week, yes, my name is Bennett Ruedis. I'm with Mattamy Homes. If you recall, if you were here, or you saw the video, we did a presentation back in March of this year, introducing a few of us from Mattamy to the community. It was a lightly attended meeting, wasn't it? No, it was a pretty well attended meeting. We think and we were glad, but we since then have been advancing our construction plans related to the roadway. And we do have approval from the county to build the roadway from the high school down to the front door of the first subdivision, the first phase, what we call, of Island Village. That approval does not yet include approval for the bridge. So we are working on that still with not only the county, but also with the Celebration Company. Other than that, related to the subdivision itself, the community, the first phase, we are still working through our own designs with the folks over at LRK, Looney Wickes, who's the Celebration Company's architect, and we are working with the Celebration Company. We're hoping to continue to move that forward with them here. It's been quite a slow process, both on our end as we try to get out of our own way and trying to, do the design, as well as trying to communicate that over to the Celebration Company and seek their approval or guidance or whatever it is that they will provide for us for the community. We are planning on later on, hopefully this year, I'm hoping this year, to have our own town hall again with Celebration, with everybody, and to start to show exactly what we have progressed through with the subdivision plans. That should really relate to the land planning as far as where streets are going and where apartments are going, where homes are going, and things like that. And hopefully we may be able to start to reveal a little bit of a preview to the types of homes that we are intending to build out there as well. Timing has changed and is not accelerated, unfortunately, much to my dismay. But we are pressing forward, and as we have more information, we could provide that. But timing, honestly, right now, timing is way behind for the subdivision itself. Timing as it relates to the road construction, like I said, should start very soon here, probably within a month, and we may have a groundbreaking type ceremony, hopefully when it's a little bit cooler. But we are going to be starting the road, so how exciting is that, right? But we will invite, if we can get it put together, we will do a ceremonial groundbreaking, definitely after we actually start construction out there, but we'll be keeping the folks here in the know about what's going on with our activities.
So, and we will keep you informed. As we know something, we'll put an article in the Celebration News, so that'll stay up. The school was scheduled to open fall of 2020?
That is the current plan.
Is that still the date?
That is currently the date.
Okay. And that's being built by the county?
That is being built by the county for the school itself, a K through 5 elementary school. About 1,000 students that they were saying. And during our next town hall meeting, we'll be inviting folks from the school district of Osceola County to come out as well to address any questions related to that, and hopefully provide you more information about the school. But basically, K through 5 elementary school, 1,000 students, hopefully to open in the fall of 2020. But that is, believe it or not, quickly approaching, and I'm worried for that schedule already. So.
Okay, so thank you, Bennett. I know we had the Lexington question. Was if you waive, is there any further follow-on with Bennett? Okay, and I'm sure you can. I should invite you to anyone to catch him in the hallway.
Sorry, he's with Lexington?
No, he is with Madam E. Holmes. Madam.
I'm not with Lexington either, even though I'm going to give the update for it.
Steve is going to. Steve's going to address the other question.
I'll answer. Let me answer the first question. So, Bruce, I believe the question was what's going on with Lexington and downtown. So, what's going on is there's two ongoing legal issues that are taking place. One is the Town Center Condo Association has an active litigation case against Town Center Foundation. So, these are all the different letters again regarding construction and maintenance and issues that need to be taken care of in the buildings. That's an ongoing issue between those two different entities. Again, there's another entity here, Kanoa, the Celebration Non-Residential Owners Association. Lexington is an owner in Kanoa. Just like you all are owners in Croa, they have a stake as an ownership in Kanoa. But they also have a responsibility to keep the community-wide standards. So there are issues with Kanoa has cited them for not meeting the community-wide standards, and they've disputed it. So that has proceeded into arbitration. And in this industry, we can't just snap our fingers and say, go do it. If someone decides not to do it, then it becomes legal. And legal takes a long time to do because you have to go through mediation first. If you can't come to a mediation agreement, the Kanoa governing documents require arbitration. So arbitration is taking place next. If you can't settle through arbitration or it can't get done and the arbitration is disputed, then you have to go to litigation. So the only other thing that can be done down there would be in what this board right here, the Croa board, has authority over, because remember, we have to follow our source of authority and what the governing documents say. They have authority over community-wide standards, aesthetics, for the homeowners in the Town Center Condo Association. So if someone leaves their bike on the balcony or whatever, I don't even know what it would be, but if there's a violation of that, the only thing Croa can do is send a violation letter to the homeowner of the Town Center Condo Association. And at this point in time, with everything that's going on down there, that just doesn't make a lot of sense. So strategically, the source of authority has to be followed to determine who's responsible for making sure these things are done. And unfortunately, in this scenario, it's gone to legal in 2 different instances with 3 different entities involved in the legal situation. I wish I could give you an update on the legal. The only thing I can tell you, Kanoa is going to arbitration hearing December 5th and 6th, I believe. So we do, if there is an arbitration hearing for that. It's not a public hearing, though. It won't be open for everybody to come to it. It is a closed hearing. But there is an arbitration hearing for that. And I'm not sure when the next legal updates for the Town Center Condo Association and TCF are.
And let me give the second part of this answer. When the new board got elected, the first thing we did was got sworn in. The second thing we did was got taught how to say our P's and Q's. And then the third thing that happened immediately after that was we had a meeting with our legal counsel to talk about Lexington. It is in legal ramifications, as Steve just explained. CROA, the Celebration Residential Owners Association, has $6 million of annual revenues, has a working capital fund of a few $1 million. If we stick our nose where our nose does not belong from a legal perspective. We put all of your fees and all of those assets of risk for us being drawn into a lawsuit. So while every single one of us is a resident, we certainly feel the pain of many people. Our responsibility as a CROA board is to all 4,321 households and to make sure that we don't put millions of dollars at risk being hyper aggressive. So everything that we are doing is talking to legal counsel. Trust me, we talk about it, we feel your pain, we can't put all of you at risk trying to be aggressive. And that is on very strict legal advice. So, I mean, when you talk about why doesn't CROA do something, well, all these legal entities I was joking about earlier are all sewed up in these lawsuits, and there are very expensive lawyers all over the place looking for avenues to find places to go for money. And that is the message I want you to hear, because we do very much care, but we do not want to put you at risk.
Okay, I think the question that was yelled out was about the events that take place downtown. So again,
Steve, hold on one second,
yep.
if I may.
Sure.
If you're an owner in Town Center, can you raise your hands? I'm going to raise my hand, because I am. So understand how difficult it is when you have to act for the community first and not personally. I got involved because of this situation with Lexington, and they're not going to take our town. I'm telling you right now. But they want to go the hard way, and we're going to keep going the hard way. So show up to Kanoa meetings. Feel free to voice your opinions at those meetings as well. It won't hurt. It won't hurt. That's all I wanted to add. And Lexington sits, one-fifth of the Kanoa board is Lexington.
And certainly you always have the opportunity to come talk, but the response from the Kanoa board is going to be they're in active legal arbitration, and they're not going to be able to comment on it. And you have to understand that, because they want to win. They want to win their arbitration case. So the question that was asked, and it wasn't on camera, so I'll repeat it, was what's going on with the events downtown, the now snowing, and Oktoberfest, the leaves falling. So let me preface this by saying Facebook is a wonderful tool that was invented by Mark Zuckerberg. It's a great tool, right? We all agree to that. But unfortunately, it can be hijacked and it can be used for evil. So we have to be careful what we believe on there. If you want the facts, I will always give you the facts. I've never tried to mislead you all as a community. I will always tell you the truth. Even if it means that you're not happy with me, I'm going to tell you the truth. So there's no fact behind Lexington canceling Now Snowing and Oktoberfest. It's just not the reality. I just had a meeting with them today, and they're fully planning for doing both events. Now, they did cancel 4th of July this year. That's a fact. That happened. But they don't have plans at this point in time to cancel those next two events. They're planning on doing those events.
Yes, you're next.
Teresa Packard, 221 Longview Avenue, Georgetown. I wanted to talk to you about the community-wide standards. Can't hear me even though I'm really close, right? CROA standards for condo landscaping and exterior design supersede individual condo standards and rules. I think more attention needs to be given to condo function and design when talking about the landscaping, especially when it restricts the occupants from accessing their homes from the common elements. I think that it would increase property values in the condo if you made them look actually more like homes instead of just condo buildings. Right now, the standard is just tiered landscaping surrounding a building, and you don't see them as individual homes, but they are. I personally have made a beautiful porch. However, the CROA standards were told to put gardenia bushes in front of them, so I can't have my neighbors come in and sit with me on the porch and visit. Celebration, porches were very, very important to Celebration. We put the garages in the back, we put the porches in the front so you could come and you could meet your neighbors and have relationships with them. And it makes it safer. It makes it safer, it makes it friendlier. You trust your people more when you know them. I have people on my porch. You've got this big of a mulch patch that you have to go through. You want to put gardenias there instead. If that means that if I want to have somebody on my porch, I have to take them throughout my house, which I don't want to do. I'd appreciate if we had better standards, more consideration for condo owners, and to treat them more like homes instead of tenement buildings. The perception that I get a lot is, oh, I hope there's no more condos coming in. There's a reason for that, I think. And it's because they're just not considered homes. Thank you.
Thanks, Teresa. One of the things that we've been doing on CROA is trying to engage the condos in a collaborative, more larger effort. There's been issues around a certain cable company who shall not be named because they might come up to the mic and yell at me. But the reality is that the condo owners represent a significant portion of the CROA membership. And so it's important for us to communicate, to talk about the special needs of condos that are a little different than single-family homeowners. And so one of the things that we've proposed is a board of advisors, if you will, of condo managers and representatives. We had the first of those meetings on the cable issue a month or so ago. And it's a work in progress. I got to tell you, it's not going to happen overnight. But I think there's a greater awareness right now that this is an important question and that we need to treat all of our owners, whether they're in condos or single-family homes, as being important members of the community. So I appreciate you raising that.
Yeah, I guess I do it this way. I'm Rick Nelson, and I am a resident in Celebration, and I'm also the president of the Mirasol Condominium Association. And Jackson brings up a good point. And for all of you, or any of you, that are a condominium owner, one of the best things you can do is to help us get condominiums involved. I sent out several notices to all the condominiums here in Celebration to get involved with me to work with Jackson and the board, and I got 2 answers. All the rest of the condominiums have never even answered. So if you've got a problem and you want help from this board, I think tell your managers, tell your condominium board members to get involved and to make contact. I think, Jackson, I think that's a project that you've kind of taken on, and to start to answer and get involved, because I think we can do a lot of good, but nobody has bothered to get involved. Like I said, I sent several notices out and got no responses except from 2 condominium properties. So it's on us to get involved. The other thing I just wanted to very quickly say before you tell me my time is up, this board has done an outstanding job in terms of communication, and I'm really pleased with that. And you know, I think many of you know I'm pretty outspoken on a lot of issues, but on this one you have done an absolutely great job. Thank you.
Thank you, Rick. I'll invite you to come back up and spend some more time with your last comment. Thank you, Rick. Please. You almost did.
Eileen Barr, 1138 Mosaic Drive. I'm going to follow Rick and give you a compliment. I came to the board a little while ago and I asked you to please start putting some of the committees on the front porch, and it's starting to happen, and I think that's great. Okay, so there's a but, and the well, the but is that what you say here is great for the people who come here, but I think some of these still have to get across that most of the meetings that are listed, most of the committees, CANOA, the whatever, are open to everybody. And unless I think it gets repeated, it's hard for people to hear. And although I would never not compliment Dave, I must say that it was a little confusing when you were talking about an election, that there's an election for CROA in March, but when you vote for CCDD, you vote in the general election. Owners who aren't registered here can't vote, but if you're a renter, you can vote for that election. And as somebody said to me recently, and to look for the CCDD column to vote, you have to go to the bottom corner. So everybody needs to know that, along with looking at who you want for governor and who you want for senator, you really have to take seriously, because it's important to us, who you want for CCDD, and find that little, look at your sample ballot and go prepared to find that little corner.
All right. No, go. No.
Al Groves, 506 Sycamore Street. I'm here tonight to talk a little bit about requesting support for 5G technology. A long-term project, but it's also involved with the current infrastructure. This is following up with the email that all of you got, and also CD in the back there also got, about the projects that are underway. There's an opportunity to prepare for future technology advancements at this point. And what the main one is 5G. 5G. 5G is the 5th generation of mobile communications. It succeeds all the rest of them from the start, 4.3.2.1. Targets all the new stuff, better, bells and whistles, yada, yada, yada. But it's a greater change than any of the other ones ever have yet suggested. And why do we need it? It's the future, so it's time to get on the bandwagon. Important pieces of self-driving cars and the Internet of Things, it's a term you'll hear a lot, is in the possibilities with 5G. Makes for smart cities, and don't we want to be a smart city? I think that's what we do. 5G seems to be the pacer for autonomously driving deployment, and it's the bump towards greater throughput rates, up to 20 gigabytes, latency drops to the 1 millisecond, all these fancy numbers about it, but it's in a different frequency, one too, and that's what's going to get it to 1,000 times the capacity. Part of that involves in how does it work? Well, it's magic. That's all I can say. It's millimeter wave technology that gets involved with it, which means smaller cells, more infrastructure considerations. And that's something we should probably get ahead of, especially as you finish the corridor and CCDD. And Bennett's still in the back? He gets very much involved with this as we go down towards Island Village. What I don't know is how 5G is monetized. I really don't know. Does it lease payments to the vendor to it? Is it rental to utilities? I don't know. But I do know from your perspective, the complex which you've put out, it says the Wi-Fi accessibility is coming along the dog park, and courtesy of Comcast from your website. So Comcast is something that should be asked about 5G guidance as you put in those poles and all the rest of the structure that goes with it. What are you going to need that supports 5G along the way? But I do know who will know, and that's the gal who's got a picture of there, who's Amy Westwood. Amy Westwood, which I don't know. I've reached out to her. I haven't found her yet. But her background says she's been here before. She's involved now on the backside. So we need to get her started on helping you out. And that's important because she knows education, health, technology, community, and place. Hey, wait a minute. Those are the same things we say we do. So get started on that. There's the contact information for her in there. And there's always a question about 5G or other, health issues. I have to say, as an old Navy guy, I've been irradiated probably a hell of a lot more force than this without much direct direction, but I don't know. Electro-smog is what you got to work for, and be heads up for that going down. So,
thank you for that.
All right.
Yeah, we'll grab this, and thank you, Alan. Seriously, thank you on this. One of the things that the board has brought up is we have these cornerstones. We have 5 cornerstones in our community, and one that we haven't focused on, I think, in a very long time is technology. I don't think any of us would argue that we've kind of fallen back on that end. So one thing that I think, Vaughn, you may have been the one that brought this up, is we have on the October 1st agenda to bring a technology committee. So here's the opportunity. Anybody that wants to volunteer, that's a fresh committee that we'll be working on to set up. Amy, I believe, I don't want to misspeak. Ethan, I'm going to ask you, is that Magic Band? Is that the Magic Band lady? No, it's not. Okay. There's somebody else that I was thinking of with a similar name. Anyhow, in any event, that committee that I'd love to see if you can help us and work with us on to bring technology into this community up to not 2018, but ahead a couple years. But we also need a committee to assist in that. But yes, I agree with you.
I think we're also going to look outside the celebration for experts in the field. I mean, this is a really important, technology is very important. We don't want to fly by the seat of our pants here and just, you know, have laypersons necessarily only. We need to get experts in here that know about technology. I don't know enough. I just know my phone's on 4G. That's all I know. I don't know what it does. I'm not really sure what 5G does, but we need experts. So we're going to also be looking outside to fill this committee with experts in the field.
You're looking for the mic?
This also includes things like, you know, Wi-Fi and telephone, maybe solar, all that type of stuff.
You know, part of what brought a lot of people to Celebration in the first couple of years was the promise of being a community of the future and reaching out and doing more than just the average things. And I'm excited, Alan, that again, you know, you're asking us to look into those things and to expand that territory again. I think that there's fundamentally a conversation that's going to have to be held over the next few years here about whether or not we want Celebration to be a nice average subdivision in a nice average location, or whether we want this to be a really unique, special place that I think it initially was and still has many pieces that are that way today. And I would invite those of you that have that particular vision for how we can reimagine Celebration to participate at whatever ways you can, whatever places you can, whether it's in the master plan process or the special events committees or the technology committees, so that you are having your voice heard, that we've got a bigger picture and opportunity in front of us. And if you want us to just be a nice town that's pretty and nothing more than that, you should say that too. That's a valid position to take. But I think it's a discussion that we haven't held for the last 10 years. We've just gradually slid into that. And I think it's time to start having that conversation.
I see someone in the front, and then in the back next. And I think just as you're coming up to the mic, this is off? This is off? No, yeah. Just going back to what Debbie said in her opening remarks, thanking the volunteers. The proposed technology committee is one of those. There may be other committees that come out because of your interest of wanting to help create whatever future we want here. Please, welcome.
Well, it was a great segue that you mentioned, do you want Celebration to be a pretty town? But my name is Ro Maribel. I live at 1571 Resolute Street in Spring Lake. And I don't know if this is within your purview or not, but I'm asking about the development along Celebration Boulevard. And what else is going to be developed out there? I see a McDonald's. I've heard a 7-Eleven. I've heard a gas station. And I look at how Celebration's been planned and look at most of those kind of entities or businesses are usually on the 192 corridor, and there's a lot of leadway into before you get into the Celebration town area. For those of us that live on the Celebration Boulevard side of the development, I'm just wondering what else is going to be going on there. I mean, I understand the community assisted living and that we have absolutely wonderful commodities, but when I have to say I'm a little bit I'm paused here on things like McDonald's and 7-Elevens and gas stations. So can you speak to any of that, or is this within your lane or not? Thank you.
So 2 questions. Can we speak to it? Yes, but it is not within the authority of the CROA board. So I just want to make sure that I'm clear on that. The Celebration Company, TCC, owns that land and they sell it for commercial use. It's all zoned for commercial to be owners within the Celebration Non-Residential Owners Association. So there is a McDonald's and there is a 7-Eleven. 7-Eleven is the gas station. I don't believe that there's another gas station coming. I think that is the gas station. I understand that there's some possible shops near Emerson on the corner of World Drive there in Celebration Boulevard. And I believe that there's some future growth of another hotel and some more apartments near Windsor, near the assisted living facility. That's all the future growth that I know of right now. I know that there's another storage building that's being built along the boulevard also, but I don't think there's a lot of property left. I think it's just some really small pieces after that. So I think that we're seeing kind of the end to the growth here, along with Island Village coming over the next few years. So I think that this is nearing the end of the development and Celebration.
Again? Now it's on. One of the ways that we find out about those new developments, those in particular, is going to the CDD meetings when there's a representative from the Celebration Company who's talking about whatever's on their agenda. That's when we hear first.
The Celebration Company does not come and get permission from the CROA board to develop. They sell to whoever they can sell to that meets the standards of the Celebration Company. And then once they do that, the development and the structures have to fall underneath the community-wide standard, and that's where the management company here will go in and look them over and make sure that they're meeting the community-wide standards through the Non-Residential Owners Association board.
So we're clear that this, if you don't know who the Celebration Company is, it's a Disney company. So they're the ones that make the decisions, not us.
And if, like when we have our meetings with Bennett, who spoke earlier from Mattamy Home, the Celebration Company is who's first reviewing all their proposals for the road, for the bridge, for the different development stages that they'll have and stuff like that. So basically it is still just like Disney did ours. And one of the reasons we've been so involved with Bennett and Mattamy and everything is we're trying to make sure that the same books that control what's going on in this part of Celebration control what's going on out there. One of the lessons from Spring Lake is that we were a little too late to the game, so we tried to react to lessons learned.
There was someone else. Oh, there you are, right on the aisle. You're ready. Good. To the microphone so we can be.
Sharon Elizabeth, 940 Spring Park Street. I live in a condo. I'm one of the condo people. My question is, first, is there a chart so we know who to talk to about what? Because when I moved here a year ago, I actually first came to Celebration in the 90s with my now ex-husband, fell in love with it because I loved Disney as a child. And then I convinced him to buy a place, and then I got in a divorce, and now I'm like, oh my God, why am I here? Because there's nothing I really like. I love frozen yogurt, and there's no frozen yogurt. There's no frozen yogurt because a frozen treat is ice cream. And I kept wanting to figure out the frozen yogurt situation, and I have to take a toll road to get frozen yogurt. I also have a home in DC, so I did okay in the divorce, but I really would love to live next to a place with frozen yogurt. And then every time you try to go to an Apple store, there's no Apple store, and then some friends in DC said that the Apple store will be near Champions Gate. So I just would like to know where I go to get some input, or I can give input about getting some of the amenities that I might really like to have.
Where were you several years ago? I owned a frozen yogurt store.
Wow.
And not only did I have it, but I tried to get one here in town, and it couldn't because exclusivity, and well, I've learned my new best friend Lexon. But I'm with you. I like froyo. Sorry, I had to say that.
So anybody here in the audience or watching at home, if you have any frozen yogurt questions, Kevin is the guy to go to for frozen yogurt.
My question is that is there like a booklet so I don't have to come to a meeting to like maybe find out about the quirks about Celebration and then maybe.
Yeah, that's I think that's a really great question. There's a couple things that you can do. If you do not have the Celeservice app, it's on the App Store for Apple or it's on the Google App Store. You can download it. Just look up Celeservice or Celebration, and you can put it on your phone. And that will allow you, if you ever see anything that you want to report in town, you can put it through there, and you don't have to know what entity it goes to. It's already, all the workflow is set up in the back end. It'll just automatically go to the correct entity. If you want to know who to call for certain things, we can certainly help you. If you call here at the front desk, we can get you the phone number or the entity that you need to talk to for certain things. So on our website, there's also a listing of the phone numbers for the other entities, but that's just the phone numbers. You might not know who does what. So if you ever have questions or you need help knowing who to go to, we're here to assist that. We might not be responsible for everything, but we do want to provide the customer service to be able to get you to the right place. So you can contact Town Hall. I can give you the number if you want it real quick. It's for the Town Hall number, it's 407-566-1200.
Have a question, Kathy? No, come up to the microphone so we can hear.
Sorry, just in response to her, I know I
To her yogurt? You know where to get yogurt?
Well, you can find out. If you go on Waze, W-A-Z-E, and download the app, it's usually for most of us that don't use GPS, and we want to know what's in the vicinity. Go on W-A-Z-E, download that app, and it'll tell you everything within 50 miles of what's here. So you can find out your yogurt place, ice cream places.
Racetrack on 192, Miss Rosen.
Oh, racetrack on 192. It was really about going to Waze, yeah, and you'll find a lot of
Well,
stuff.
Waze will tell you how long it'll take you to get there, too, and where there's traffic and everything else. You can talk to other people. It's great.
Was there someone else in the back who was going to?
Yeah, it'll tell you where Jerry's camped out to get you.
How about other questions? Questions, issues? Or you're going to go back to Facebook and go, oh, please.
I would like to ask a question of the audience. You could catch us afterwards. Was tonight worthwhile? There would be a lot of value in knowing that answer.
Town Hall is here to help you. We can answer questions. Call us, please. We will point you in the right direction. If you don't feel like you got the answer you're looking for, call me personally. Ask for Steve, and I'll help you get the answer.
Please.
That's how much faith I have that the front desk ladies know what they're doing, because I won't get any calls.
I don't mean to prolong this too long, but my name is Tim Hannon. I live at 924 West Park. And one thing that bothers me when I walk around, and I was happened to be playing golf with a very good friend of mine today, and he said, you know, my wife and I were out walking around Lake Eola this morning, and I thought some people were fishing, couldn't figure out what they were doing. And what they were doing was taking plastic bags and bottles out of Lake Eola. And I happen to live near some of the parks and along Starling. If you look across from the recreation, there's all kinds of plastic bottles and old containers and refuse that's 20 feet away from where people cut the grass. I was just thinking maybe as part of Founders Day, and I'd be proud to be part of this, maybe we have, I don't know, a cleanup, a community-wide cleanup. I've never seen anything about that, but if you walk over the bridge just out here, you'll see all kinds of plastic bottles. Now, I don't want anyone getting bit by reptiles, but, you know, I would think that there could be something in a community that cares about itself to do something beyond the 8 feet from the sidewalk. So.
Well, I can tell you, I see Susan taking some notes here. I'm sure she's writing down community-wide cleanup, so we'll bring it back to the staff and we'll talk about logistics for it. I think it's a great idea, absolutely. I know that there's always Boy Scout groups looking to help, so there's all kinds of people out there. Actually, last year, right around this time, we had a major hurricane come through here, and the Celebration residents were out bagging sand for non-Celebration residents. So this community will turn out to volunteer to help, so that's excellent. Thank you.
Just real quick before we take that, if we could. Jerry, I see Jerry in the back. I just wanted to call him up and see if he wanted just to say a couple words while he was here and talk about some of the security.
Is he shaking his head yes or no?
I think it's a yes.
So Jerry Weiland's making his way up.
We were talking about that. What was it, Chuck Berry, the My Big League song? That'll get everybody out.
It's on for you, too. You don't have to turn it on.
Thank you.
You put a microphone in front of me, I'm great. First of all, while I'm here, I want to thank any of the residents that voice their support to the CDD and coming out to the meeting and everything to help keep my position open. I really, truly believe that between CROA coming over to the meeting and voicing their opinion as well, and you all coming out, that certainly kept the stuff in the budget to keep me out there. I think it's a great thing, so thank you. So before I get rambling, do anybody have any questions for me? I can answer questions on anything you might have, complaints, concerns. Nothing. Oh my God. Okay, mic drop. One thing I want to say, and I talked to the sheriff this week. I talked with our attorneys and everything at the sheriff's office. The sheriff is committed to keeping the community safe. That's just not Celebration. That's all of Osceola County. When you call 911, your taxes pay for deputies. There are deputies coming to your house. It's not always me. I'm here as an enhancement to the sheriff's office, what services that the sheriff provides. We go to where there's calls and higher priority calls. If somebody's getting stabbed on 192, your noise complaint might sit for a few minutes. But we are coming out to your house. And I jokingly say somebody gets stabbed. There's stabbings and robberies and all kinds of stuff up on 192. I've mentioned before, I've got paperwork in my car. If you want to do a ride-along with a deputy, not me in here, this is boring. Go out to 192 and see what's going on. You will have a great appreciation for what world you live in right here in Celebration. While there is a mythical bubble, there really is something that's keeping a lot of that out there on 192. So take me up on the offer. You know, you can flag me down. I'd set you up with a ride along anytime. Yeah. Was that something? It was something about a dog bite or something like that. A lot of animal issues are handled by animal control. Was it okay? I can't comment on any specific. I don't know what happened with that one. So yeah, I know the fire station that is right over here. They know where it's at. So where something got lost in communication, it's hard to say. I don't know about that one, but if you know where it is and you can articulate to the 911 operators of what's going on, hey, we're right behind the library, they should be able to find the library. It pops up in our CAD system pretty easily. So I can't comment on that one, but yeah, if you call, we are coming. And like I said, there may be a delay depending on deputies. As I've mentioned in the CDD meetings as well, it's really hard to find deputies. You know, this once illustrious career, nobody really wants to get into it anymore. It's a very difficult business, not just here in Osceola County, but everywhere in the country. Nobody really wants to get into it because they love being yelled at and cussed at all day long. So it's tough. So the ones that are still here doing it, it's because we love to do it. So yeah, yeah, go ahead. Yeah. I don't have a specific time frame, and what Brian's referring to is the old Publix up on International Drive. I know the county is in negotiations with Century City, the people who own that building and the property that it sits on, to purchase that building. They're still working on how much space the sheriff's office is going to occupy in that building, what other government entities might be in there. It might be an elections office, it might be meeting rooms, it might be animal control, it might be code enforcement. We really don't know yet. They're still trying to work all those details out, but they're hoping within maybe by the end of the year to get a sale price completed on that. Then there's some remodeling that has to be done, probably another 6 or 8 months of construction for that. So maybe next year it's a possible. Just because that building's there, we're not going to have a bunch of deputies sitting in their cars ready to run to your calls. Okay, there's a lot of administrative offices. What they are talking about, and again, nothing's solid yet. They're talking about services that are going to help keep deputies on the road. They're going to put an evidence section in there, so if I dust your car for fingerprints that was broken into, I don't have to drive 20 miles down the road to go drop off evidence. We're going to be able to drop it off there. That's going to keep us available. They're going to put a gas pump over there, so we don't have to drive down and go get gas. Things like that is going to keep deputies available out on the street. So in that turn, it's going to help keep people available to respond to your calls quicker. As we get more information on that, I'll spill the beans in either on the front porch, back porch, Celebration News, wherever I can throw it out there, because it's going to be really cool building. So, you had a question? there shouldn't be any changes to the traffic pattern that's out there. It's going to, as far as I know right now, it's going to stay 2-lane divided highway or 4-lane divided highway. They're building those mast arms on the ground the last couple of days. Tomorrow, Wednesday, they're supposed to have a crane out there and setting up those mast arms. So you'll see some action going over there. You're probably going to see some lanes closed when they're doing that. Watch the speed limit. Fines are doubled, and I've been sitting out there hiding. So just a few miles over the speed limit, and actually in the school zone as well as construction zone is $306. So, and I don't get any of that. Sorry. So it's going to stay the 4-lane divided highway. Once they get that up, they still got a lot of wiring to do. Once they get everything all wired up, you're going to see the lights flashing for at least 2 weeks. That's going to get you the notice of, hey, something's going on. And then the lights will be activated, and you'll see me sitting out there writing tickets. And that's $266 and 4 points on your license for the red light. So, but yeah, as far as I know, any other traffic things for the library, anything like that, I'm not aware of yet.
So can you close on a nice positive note, not $266?
I can sing. Yeah, speed limits are 25. It's 8 sides, red, and says stop. That means stop. If I was shoving bamboo shoots under your fingernails, you want me to go slower or do you want me to stop? There's a huge difference between stopping and slowing, so stop, please, okay? Thank you again for your support. We're always here. Call 911 if you need it. We're out here.
Now I'll start singing.
Anyone have anything else before we close the town hall? We're not going to make it to midnight.
I spoke earlier, but another gentleman made a comment I have to respond to or add to. Joe Growney, 860 Spring Park Loop celebration, 17 years here. The gentleman said we could have a volunteer group come to pick up garbage. What in the hell's wrong with us? Why don't we expect our elected people? Do we want to live in a dump until somebody volunteered to clean the place up? I'm willing to pay a few more bucks. The sidewalks are atrocious. There's so many damn things wrong with this town that could be corrected in a heartbeat. Disney would never let this happen. Within 3 days, the tree, I got a stump across from me. A year ago, the hurricane took it down. It's 3 feet of what do you call it, growth from the stump. And you can't know it because the stump's up this far. So are we going to get serious people about keeping this town clean? Or are you just going to call it Poverty Acres and be happy with it? Thank you.
Invite him to Canoa. That's what we need there.
All right, I think we're ready to close. Any last comments from the board? Anyone? Comments? Comments from Steve. We're closing. And we'll hang around. And we're available. Our next board meeting is a week from this Wednesday in this room, and we welcome you every month, and for workshops again twice a month. Thank you for coming and helping make this town hall meeting a town hall meeting. Thank you.